Hi, I'm Phillip Swadling, Technical and Engineering Manager with Thales Australia. I've been working in simulation for over 20 years now, and what really started me was an opportunity with the company that I worked for, who won the contract for the F-111 mission simulator. And I was working in submarines at the time with the same company. But I'd always had an interest in aircraft and avionics, so I thought this was a great opportunity to at least do something with that sort of industry. Even though we don't build planes like that in Australia, this is a way to get involved, so it's all gone from there, and I haven't looked back. So there's a number of examples. I guess I've worked on mostly military simulators across my career, and a variety of fixed wing and fast jet and helicopters. And I guess ultimately it's all about getting the crew trained to do their job in the safest way possible, and so that they can learn in a safe way, and also saving on resources. So things like the Tiger helicopter, the ARH that's just come into service, we provided the training system for that, and the pilots were able to train flying that aircraft before it was actually available, and they can do things like malfunctions, engine failures and things like that in the simulator that they'd never try in the aircraft because it's just too dangerous. But if they do it in the simulator and it ever happens, which is fairly rare these days, then they know what to do and they can cope and land the aircraft safely or do whatever they need to do. There's lots and lots of issues. I guess the main issue is understanding what you actually need the simulation or simulator to do. Why are you acquiring it? What are the outcomes that you're looking for? And if it's for training, and it doesn't have to be for training, then what are the tasks that you're trying to train? What are the competencies that people need to acquire? And what is it that they need to understand from a cognitive perspective, or what is it they need to be able to do from psychomotor? What cues do they need to pick up on in order to perform their tasks, to make sure that you specify the simulator correctly. Then you need to have the information that's required to design the simulator so that it works correctly, and also what the same sort of data is used to test the simulator to make sure that it's been built correctly. And then the final key thing is to make sure that you've planned to support the simulator. So these devices can be quite complex, and if you don't budget properly in terms of the maintenance and support, spare parts, then it's going to sit in a corner and gather dust, and nobody's going to use it, and it's going to be a big waste of money. Yeah, I think the key thing is to really understand the application. So simulation can be used not only for training, but for exploring new concepts, prototyping, looking at a whole range of different activities. So it's really being clear on what it is that you need to achieve, what's your ultimate goal. Because simulation is a tool or a technique. It's not an end in itself, generally speaking. As a simulation person, it's a bit hard for me to say, but we really need to recognise that simulation is there to do something, do a job, make people more competent, provide advice and decision-making information. So really be clear on what it is that you're trying to achieve, and make sure that you don't overdo things. So the simulation needs to be at the right level of fidelity, or you can waste a lot of money. Or if you don't make it high enough level of fidelity, then the outcome you get won't be what you're looking for, because it won't be a valid outcome. I think it's really very, very strong in that area. It's really an enabler, because in simulation you can explore options and alternative approaches for not only technology, but also for user interface concepts, for tactics and doctrines for the military, for operations analysis, a whole range of different things you can do in a simulation environment, and try a whole bunch of alternatives, which is where the innovation comes from, being able to think freely without constraints, and then evaluate those options using simulation to make your decisions on what you're going to take forward, and maybe then use more targeted simulation or build prototypes, but at least you've narrowed it down, and so it can support that side of things very, very, very well, allow you to explore those kinds of options. The same thing, really. It's just more of the same. I think as people learn more and more about simulation and the kinds of things that it can do. A lot of people already use simulation and don't really understand that that's what they're doing, give it a different name. But I think as people understand the power of simulation and properly applied and targeted simulation, then it's definitely got a growing level of influence on the industry. I think it varies across the different areas, the different industry sectors. So there's some very strong niche capabilities in things like games. At the conference today, you've seen a number of different motion platforms that are, some of them are locally developed, some of them are internationally developed, but there's some local product there as well. There's a lot of engineering expertise and training expertise in Australia for looking at simulation for training. So there's a very strong capability in Australia, but as with most industries, it's a global market these days. So we need to make sure that we're doing our best and using simulation smarter than anyone else, more effectively than anyone else. And I've seen lots of examples where we can compete, but it's not easy. I think the future's bright. I think there's, as we were saying before, there's lots and lots of opportunities for ways simulation can be used more effectively in areas where it hasn't been used before, or just better in areas where it has. So I think the key message is keep on going, keep on building, keep on getting out there, spreading the message, and keep on working and making sure that you're, I guess, keeping the integrity of what you're trying to achieve. Don't just sell simulation as a silver bullet that can solve all your problems, but be realistic. But definitely the future's bright.